Not since George Orwell's 1984 has a dystopian novel hit so close to a chilling prophecy of what could happen to society and the planet if people do not take notice and change the trajectory noted by the author. At the end of Orwell's 1984, the reader was left with the uncomfortable and creepy notion that in the years between publication, 1949, and 1984, every citizen would be under constant surveillance by the authorities, with the reminder that Big Brother is watching you, a prophecy that has in certain ways come to pass. M.T. Anderson takes this to a whole new level in Veed. Taking place in the not-too-distant future, Anderson looks at what America will be like if consumerism and materialism continue to take center stage as a driving force in our lives. The story is told through the eyes of Titus, a teenage boy. In this time of the novel, 70% of all Americans have had a chip placed in their brains at birth, which connects them to the feed.
But the braggiest thing about the feed, the thing that makes it really big, is that it knows everything you want and hope for. Sometimes before you even know what those things are. It can tell you how to get them and help you make buying decisions that are really hard. Everything we think and feel is taken in by the corporations, mainly by the data ones, Feedlink, Onfe, and American Feedware. And then they make a special profile, one that's key just to you. And then they give it to their branch companies or other companies buy them. And then they get to know what it is we need. So all you have to do is want something and there's a chance it'll be yours. Of course, everyone's like, evil corporations, so they're so bad. We all say that, and we all know they control everything. I mean, it's not great, because who knows what evil shit they're up to. Everyone feels bad about that. But they're the only way to get all this stuff. And it's no good getting pissy about it, because they're going to control everything, whether you like it or not. Plus, they keep, everyone in the world employed, so it's not like we could do without them. And it's really great to know everything about everything whenever we want. To just have it in our brain. Just sitting there.
Corporations have worked their way into every aspect of society, including the schools.
School's not so bad now. Not like when my grandparents were kids. When schools were run by the government, which sounds completely Nazi to have the government running the schools. Back then, it was big, boring, and all the kids were mag-null. Because they didn't learn anything useful. It was all what happened in 1492, when you mix chalk and water, it makes nitroglycerin, and that kind of shit, and nothing was useful. Now that school is run by corporations, it's pretty brag, because it teaches us how the world can be used, mainly how to use our feeds. Also, it's good because that way we know the big corporations are made up of real human beings, not just jerks out for money. Because taking care of children, they care about America's future. It's an investment in tomorrow. When no one was going to pay for public schools anymore, they were all filled with guns and drugs and English teachers who were pimps and stuff. Some of the big media conglomerates got together and gave all this money and bought all the schools computers and pizza for lunch and stuff, which they gave for free. And now we do stuff in classes about how to work technology and how to find bargains and what's the best way to get a job and how to decorate our bedroom.
While the corporations are selling their products through the feed, and schools are teaching students only how to use the feed to find and buy what they want, the planet is being totally destroyed by the overharvesting of natural resources and polluting to the point that people can no longer live on the surface. Titus realizes this when he wants to visit a forest with his girlfriend, Violet.
There's a forest, said Violet. It's called Jefferson Park. We were thinking about going either there or out to beef country. My dad nodded. It'll have to be beef country, he said. The forest's gone. Jefferson Park? He nodded. He told us, yeah, Jefferson Park? Yeah, that was knocked down to make an air factory. You're kidding, said Violet. Yep, that's what happened, said Dad, shrugging. You've got to have air. Violet pointed out trees make air, which kind of worried me because I knew Dad would think it was snotty. My father stared at her for a long time, then he said, yeah, sure. Do you know how inefficient trees are next to an air factory? But we need trees. For what? He said. I mean, they're nice, and it's too bad, but do you know how much real estate costs?
And he describes what he sees as he flies his up car to a nearby community where Violet lives.
So I flew really good when I got up above the surface, going over the shanty towns that had been built up around the cooling steeples. I flew perfect. We went for a while. It was raining. There were all these lights from the factory towers below us. Those really hard lights, those bright white ones, they were shining through all the gases, above the tubing and the tanks and ladders. There was cargo ships anchored in the sky. I flew around them politely, like a gentleman. For a long time, we went through columns of smoke. They were coming up from below. They were like rows of trees up the sides of Link's driveway. They were as gray as... I don't know. They were just gray, okay? The rain hit them.
As the Earth is dying, the public is being dummied down in order to continue the status quo.
I sat there with my palms pressed against my forehead, thinking about Violet at home, being smart. I would think about some conversation we were having where I was dumb. Like, she was always reading these things about how everything was dying and there was less air and everything was getting toxic. She told me about how things were getting really bad with some things in South America, but she couldn't really tell exactly how bad because the news had been asked to be a little bit more positive. She said that it made her frightened to read all this kind of thing, about how people hated us for what we did. So, one time, I said to her that she should just stop reading it because it was just depressing. She was like, but I want to know what's going on. So I was like, then you should do something about it. It's a free country. You should do something about it. She was like, nothing is ever going to happen in a two-party system. She was like, da-da-da, nothing is ever going to change. Both parties are in the pocket of big business, da-da-da, all that. So I was like, you gotta believe in the people. It's a democracy. We can change things. She was like, it's not a democracy. No one with feeds ever thinks about it, she said. When you have the feed all of your life, you're brought up not to think about things. Like them never telling you that it's a republic and not a democracy. It's something that makes me angry, what people don't know about these days. Because of the feed, we're raising a nation of idiots. Ignorant, self-centered idiots.
Are we destined to buy into the corporate power and greed that collects data for the purposes of selling us stuff we don't need while carelessly destroying the planet? Are we going to continue experimenting with the future of our children and our planet for the benefit of corporations and billionaires? Are we seeing the proverbial canary dying in the coal mine but are too caught up in this materialistic mess to stop or even care? When do we become complicit in the direction we take to either stay with the status quo or stand up and change our choices? We can stop this pattern of materialism and consumerism. We have an amazing resource. We have people. We have ourselves. We have the children, the future. And with them, we can make a change. While corporations are selling to children like never before, we as educators have the responsibility to help our students learn to navigate the messages they're being bombarded with every day. Unlike the schools in Titus's world, which teach only how to use the feed to buy things, we can teach media literacy skills that will remind students to question what they're being fed, as well as to determine the bias or truth of what's being presented. If we want to raise an educated population, it's of the utmost importance that children have the ability to access, analyze, evaluate, and produce messages in a wide variety of forms. These are all the pieces of media literacy. By helping students work with and understand media, technology can become more than video games, TV shows, movies, apps, and a sales tool for corporations. It can be a collaborative tool where students can work with people all around the world to find answers for our most pressing issues. In addition to being smarter consumers, people can become informed and involved. As M.T. Anderson stated in an interview about this book, quote, "We all know but try to forget that our luxuries are predicated on suffering elsewhere," end quote. We feel proud of ourselves for saving a buck, buying something cheap, getting a good deal, but so often that means someone someplace is working for very little, and we are benefiting. When we buy almost anything, we're contributing to the pollution of plastics or destruction of the rainforests. But hiding from these facts does not make them go away. Being part of the solution is empowering and hopeful. When our students care about their futures, they can do amazing things. Thomas Edison said in 1929, after seeing the negative effects of his inventions, What man's mind can create, man's conscience must control. The students we teach today have the capacity to find the answers for our tomorrows. Through media literacy, students can learn how to use technology as a collaborative tool to find answers worldwide, since issues concerning the planet affect us worldwide. Empower our students with the hope of a brighter future by taking part in the solution today and exploring options for a sustainable tomorrow. Supporting technology and energy for our future is an exciting prospect. Maybe even more exciting than finding ways to sell people something they don't really need and that will also harm the planet to create. We can hope. Because if not...
I could feel all of my family asleep in their own way around me. In the empty house, in our bubble, where we could turn on and off the sun and the stars. And the feed spoke to me real quiet about new trends, about pants that should be shorter or longer, and bands I should know, and games with new levels, and stalactites, and fields of diamonds, and friends of many colors were all drinking Coke, and beer was watching through mountain passes, and the stars of Oh Wow Thing had got lesions, so lesions were hip now, real hip, and mine looked like $1 million. The sun was rising over foreign countries, and underwear was cheap, and the President of the United States was certain of the future. And at Weatherby and Crotch, there was a sale banner, nice rugby shirts. There were pictures of freckled prep school boys and girls in chinos playing on the beach. And as I fell asleep, the feed murmured to me again and again, "All shall be well, and all shall be well, and the manner of all things shall be well."